Hey, welcome to the Sports Reverends podcast. My name is Dan, and I'm joined with my co-hosts, Drew Martin and Joel, known as The Coach. How are you fellas doing?
After Drew's dancing, I love it. I'm having a great day now. That just turned it around for me.
Good. I'm having a great day too. We're up to our necks in snow here in Selkirk. So, yeah, I'm just ready for spring. Bring it on.
Drew Martin, pastor in Selkirk. Joel is our coach that has coached us for many years. I am Dan, pastoring in downtown Toronto, and we got a fun show for you today. Coach, why don't you give us the rundown for the show?
All right. We're going to talk a little bit of the 76ers Nets trade, touch briefly on All-Star Weekend, go over the Super Bowl. We haven't had a chance to even recap that. What a game. Maybe look at our favorite teams, look at Brian Flores, and kind of see what's going on there still. And then we're going to have a fun time talking about the inconsistencies of wokeism. And that should be a fun conversation overall. So before we hit the commercial, make sure you like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, hit the button on the YouTube down below, and share us with your friends. Drew, what do you got for our commercial today?
Well, if you haven't checked out One Bone yet, make sure you do it. Download the app. It's amazing. They got new releases, including these quilt t-shirts that I really want to try. They are made for big, tall, all body types, so it works best for our big bodies. And they're super comfortable, the softest material you'll ever put on your body. You won't regret it. One Bone. And if you go to their website, your first purchase, get 15% off with the discount code SportsRevs15. SportsRevs15 gets you 15% off your first order. Do it.
Nicely done. Do it. All right. Sports Rev Dan, I'll give you the first word here.
Woo!
First word. It doesn't usually happen, but who won the Nets-Sixers trade, in your opinion?
Man, I have had a few questions over socials about this, and took me a while to answer. And my answer is the Nets won the trade in the long term, and probably the short term as well. I think I'm one of the few, that are pretty high on Ben Simmons, what he brings to the table. They have enough shooting now already with Durant, Kyrie, Joe Harris, Seth Curry, so on and so forth. Ben Simmons brings actual defensive prowess. He can cover 1 through 4. He just can't shoot. He can do everything else at the all-star level, all-star starter level. And I think the topping of the icing on the cake, I guess, is the 2 first-round picks that they got alongside it all. Now, if James Harden, is motivated, gets back in shape, and is ready to go, I think Philadelphia is absolutely deadly. I think they'll definitely contend for a title for the next year or two. But, the past kind of shows where James Harden goes, things blow up, even more so than Kyrie. So we'll see. I'm going with the Nets.
Okay, going with the Nets. I like it. So just to recap, we have going to Brooklyn, James Harden and Paul Millsap. Going to Philly. James Harden, Paul Millsap. Going to Brooklyn, we got Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. Drew, how does this tickle your fancy?
For me, I think the Nets clearly won the trade just based on bulk. I know we're usually supposed to say who got the best player in the deal, but you can't ignore how these other pieces fit in. Like Paul Millsap's washed up. He's not doing anything. Andre Drummond fits the Nets' needs perfectly, I think, for what they need as a rebounder and shot blocker. They don't have a lot of size on that team. Like, is Kevin Durant their tallest player?
Seems like it.
So, and Seth Curry's been a consistent 3-point shooter this year. And I think he's got a pretty good track record and the 2 picks. And yes, I think Ben Simmons fits their offense way better than James Harden does. I don't think James Harden in Philly is going to work because now there's a power struggle over whose team that is. Embiid has shown that he is a guy, but any team James Harden goes to, he wants to be the guy. So it's going to be a power struggle. I still don't think they fit because Embiid still has this need to want to play on the perimeter, and that's where Harden is. So, I think the Nets clearly win the trade short term and long term.
Yeah, I'm going to be brief on this. I echo the same sentiment. I'm not sure why it took you so long, Dan, to figure this out. You trade for somebody who's younger, fits your team better, plus you get a serviceable center who can just absorbs rebounds. Like, that's all the guy does. He just soaks them up. And that's going to create a lot of fast break opportunities. And I think having Seth Curry tossed in that deal, Joe Harris is hurt.
Wow.
Right? Tall white guy can shoot. Oh, no.
Joe Harris has more hair.
True.
I'm offended.
That's okay. You can be offended. It's 2020.
Ingles is hurt too.
Yeah, see? I wasn't that far off.
Out for season.
Anyways, so Joe Harris is hurt, and then somebody else just hurt their hand on that team. So Seth Curry is just prime time, fills in all these spots. Now, the biggest thing for me is the 2 picks, because now all of a sudden, because of the NBA trade rules, you can only trade, just like I think a couple other sports, you can only trade picks in non-consecutive years.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if they want to get rid of Kyrie for whatever reason, you now have some picks to dangle and say, hey, take this dude, here's some picks, be on your way, right? You can open up another spot. You can open up some salary and maybe find a piece that might fit better in the long term. That being said, the whole vaccine mandates seem to be all over the place. So that may not be an issue in the future, but because Kyrie still hasn't signed a big contract yet. He hasn't signed an extension.
And
so
right
that's
now it's only an issue for Kyrie.
Yeah, exactly.
Not for anyone else coming to Brooklyn who's not vaccinated.
Exactly.
I think 4 other guys. They're allowed to.
Yeah.
Only Kyrie. So even Adam Silver said, where's the sense in that? So
right. So, I mean, but rules are rules, right? And I'm not saying go break anything, but what's interesting to me and what really kind of got me going here was, why did they trade Harden now? They haven't really played a lot together. You know, was Harden just that upset about what's going on? Was he that just like, I'm not feeling it? Because he knows how to play with Durant. Like, he's played with Durant before, right? So there's got to be some familiarity as just on a people basis. But did he? I think I saw an article saying he didn't want to be viewed as asking out again, right? He didn't want his public perception to be that bad again. But clearly he asked out. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, I heard that there's a feud between Durant and Harden on the style of offense. And
Interesting.
I think at the end of the day, on that team, Durant is actually the puppeteer playing all the cards here, and he knew Harden was upset. Not that I don't think there's malice between them, but I think he knew they needed some depth and refreshing. And some youth is injected into that team. They also picked up Dragic in the buyout market as well. So they're pretty deep. They did have a guy named Jared Allen who just made the All-Star team that they basically let go for nothing. So,
cap space was big.
But Jared Allen fits them perfect.
True. Last point before we move on. It was also funny how Durant did not want to draft Harden on his All-Star team.
Yeah.
I thought that was typical petty Durant, but also kind of funny. Speaking of All-Star Weekend, Drew, did you even care?
No. I think the NBA has the worst All-Star Weekend ever. I think the NHL one, the NHL All-Star game has actually picked up some steam since they went to the 3-on-3 format. But, the basketball, it's not basketball.
Go ahead. I'll let you go first.
I get what you're saying, and same thing for the NFL, whatever you call it, the Pro Bowl. But The Friday night with the rookies and the sophomores, that was a good update of how they made it tournament style. It was a little more competitive that way. The Saturday was complete garbage, I would say, overall, because none of the best stars competed. But the Sunday game was actually really good. I enjoyed it, and I think the fourth quarter format, the Kobe format, has at least made the fourth quarter really fun. And honestly, Steph Curry stole the show and made it fun the whole time. So that's why I enjoyed Sunday. But
So for me, it was weird because usually NBA All-Star Weekend's on Valentine's Day weekend.
yeah,
So you can convince the girl, like, hey, let's just watch some basketball. You love me. That's fine. But having Super Bowl was a different story altogether. However, I was really not hyped about the All-Star Weekend. I was impressed by the rookie sophomore change. I agree with you how that brought more attention and more competitiveness to that. It's kind of cool to see young guys because you don't get to see them too often for certain teams. Dunk contest, complete garbage. And I don't know how you need guys who are creative enough to dunk. And I don't know who chooses these guys, but there's in-game dunkers who are sick, and then there are guys who are just creative, who are awesome. Like Aaron Gordon, lost a couple years ago, right?
But he should have won.
Yeah. Like
That was when he put the ball underneath both legs.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Gordon lost twice now when he should have.
Yeah. So like seeing Dwayne Wade like totally messed it up that year, it was just seeing the dunk comp just go significantly down after that. Yeah. 3-point contest was good. Interesting. Having Cat win is kind of weird. I think Larry Bird is probably be like, man, I'm just gonna come out and just start dropping threes. And the game itself, the Kobe ending is different, and it's whatever. It's still, I mean, if I was an NBA player, to be honest, and I was an All-Star, I'd probably just take the weekend off and just relax. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Dan. We're not seeing marquee players do things. So
even the draft between LeBron and Durant wasn't playing, so he didn't care, and clearly chose the worst team.
Well, it just feels like because they don't have the marquee people doing stuff, everything has to be a gimmick now. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Like they're adding these bright green balls in and to the 3-point. Like, it's all gimmick. Like, it's all dumb. Like,
if you had the best players doing the best things, then I'd be down.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think it's all gone downhill ever since LeBron refused to go in the dunk contest. Because everyone was waiting for that his whole career, right? Like every All-Star game, we're like, is LeBron going to do it this year?
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point.
That's a good point.
Last word to you. I think Jude. Last word to you. If you had a choice,
All-Star games suck.
Which All-Star game would you cut if you had a choice?
The Pro Bowl, I think I'd cut. I think if we're going to rank them, I think baseball has the actual best game. Because baseball is the one game where you can actually play baseball in the All-Star game because you're not at risk of getting really hurt, right? Like,
not like pitchers have to pitch hard. Like,
yeah,
that's fair. All right, good last word. Let's go to our next sponsor, Train to Invest. www.train2invest.com. If you are looking to change your lifestyle, if you're looking to learn more about what investing is, you've heard about Bitcoin, you heard about crypto, you heard about this, that, and the other, and you really don't understand what's going on, check us out, www.train2invest.com. We teach a knowledge-based investment learning methodology where you don't have to rely on gimmicks, you don't have to rely on things going red or green. You are making an informed decision on how to invest, and it's something you can teach and pass on to your family. So if you're looking for something to A, get yourself educated, and B, start changing your life in a brand new way, check us out, www.train2invest.com. Drew, Super Bowl thoughts?
Oh,
Were you excited? Did you like it? What did you think?
I thought it was very compelling. I really liked the closeness of the game. Now, there has been some controversy now about, are these things being fixed? Because apparently, like, the last 7 Super Bowls have been decided by a field goal or less, or overtime. But I think it's just the parity of football has gotten really good, and no one would have picked this Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, and no one would have had the Bengals winning for most of the game. And I think just a little bit of rookie mistakes cost the Bengals the Super Bowl. I think they manage the clock better. I think if they run instead of, like, they still had another timeout. They could have easily run on that 4th and 1, got the first down, at least tie the game, right?
Yeah.
And just run away from Aaron Donald.
Yeah, Aaron Donald is an absolute monster. And but I really liked it. I feel good for Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Aaron Donald has sort of sealed his fate as, that's something we could talk about down the road. Is he like the best football player of all time?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
No, it's absolutely. What were you doing? What did you think as you watched the game?
Yeah, I thought it was a very good game. I thought the Rams were better in the first quarter and probably half of the fourth quarter. But the Bengals were better the rest of the game, which was interesting. And the Bengals, they probably deserved to win, I would say, that game. But like I said, like I called it and you guys didn't, I was right. The Rams won. And
Well, we're talking about two bad calls, one going on each side, right?
yeah.
So the first play of the second half is the big touchdown to T. Higgins with a clear face mask, but no one cares about those penalties. It's the penalties in the last 2 minutes. The terrible call on Logan Wilson, who barely even breathed on Cooper Kupp, and there was a pass interference or a holding call, and it was ridiculous. Even they went to the referee they have on the broadcast, and he was like, wait, oh, there's nothing. Like, he was like waiting to tell them what the call was, and he's like, oh, I didn't see anything. So yeah, I still think that was only third down, I think. Yeah. So I still think they probably just lob it up to Cooper Kupp anyways. But still.
It was amazing to see how both defenses just shut down the run games. It was like, wow. That was it.
I think something that was really surprising for me was the big storyline coming into the Super Bowl was the Bengals O-line. Everybody was really afraid that they were going to get just steamrolled.
And for the first half, they really held their own.
They really held their own until the Rams shifted to that overload on the D-line, which they had no answer for. Like, the O-line did great. And I think you kind of saw, at least as a neutral, you saw a young team, initially have some flutters, get hot, but then just, couldn't pull it out in the end. Right? And it's a typical of a lot of young teams throughout a lot of sports, actually. And just thinking back on the teams I've coached, I've had a lot of young teams where they've outperformed getting into the playoffs or into a championship game, and then the nerves kind of kick in the beginning, and then execution at the end is a big deal. But as a neutral observer, it was a great game. I did get shades of the championship game where Garoppolo just threw the ball away at the end and couldn't execute with the Rams coming after him again. I got the same kind of vibe with that with Burrows at the end there. But again, I think Aaron Donald, yeah, he's definitely in the conversation of GOAT. Not just defensive GOAT, but the actual GOAT. Right? Because if you just look at his allocates, it's unreal. It's unreal.
If he doesn't make that final play, Jalen Ramsey actually slipped, and Chase is wide open, so would have been game.
Yeah, and the thing about Aaron Donald's position, it's not just about his stats. It's about how he affects the game just by pressure. Like, just by knowing he's like, you change your whole offense based on where he lines up.
Yeah. It's the impact he has in the overall game.
Crazy.
And that's hard to measure with numbers, but if you watch tape, it's unreal.
Do you think he should have been Super Bowl MVP over Cooper Kupp?
Ooh. Honestly, it's a coin flip for me. They both impacted the game.
Because you guys texted me and I said it's going to be one of those two guys.
Yeah, I think I still would give it to Kupp because those plays at the end of the game, right?
Yeah.
Those are clutch plays.
And
Not that Donald was clutch, but you had to move the chains. With Odell out, that's one, and your tight ends out. Like
that's the biggest factor for me in giving it to him is they knew where the ball was going and they still couldn't stop him.
Absolutely.
Aaron Donald was a focus coming in,
right?
Yeah, and he overpowered you, but no one I think Odell in the first up until he got hurt was the best receiver on the field.
Oh yeah,
he was
great.
Yeah. So I really felt for Odell not being out there because he looked like he was.
Yeah, he had a great impact on the start of the game, for sure.
I was just gonna say one thing that give a shout out to Wakas Mohammed who won our the Sports Reverends prop party sheet. He only had 2 wrong. No one was even close to him. So
good job, Wakas.
Shout out to Wakas. He couldn't.
You gotta get him his gift card.
It's already been sent.
Oh, beauty. Wakas, if you're hearing this, man, like send a picture of you in the gift card or something. Whatever you buy, that'd be great. I think it'd be great to put it on Instagram.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but
I think it's Wakas, but I'm not sure.
We'll give you a pass.
Thank you. Brown on brown crime right there. Quick, what are the Cowboys' plans? What do you think they're going to do in the offseason?
Suck forever.
Well, we're gearing up.
Let me stop you there. It doesn't matter. Just stop. It doesn't matter.
The Super Bowl. The Super Bowl. Come on.
Get ready for the 2023 offseason.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know what they're gonna do. They're sticking with Mike McCarthy, and they have Dan Quinn back, and our offensive guy too, our offensive coach, and I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
What about Green Bay?
Drew.
This is more controversial, right?
Yeah, Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is doing his thing where he doesn't want anyone to know anything, but he wants everyone to know little bits of things.
Yeah, just enough.
And like, I might retire. I might go to Denver. I might come back to Green Bay. I might host Jeopardy. Like,
did you see his Instagram post?
I didn't, but I saw a post regarding the Instagram post, but apparently it was very cryptic and very classic Aaron Rodgers, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I didn't see. I saw a post about a post, but yeah, it's interesting time over there in Wisconsin, Cheesehead territory.
Also
because Davante Adams is up too.
Yeah.
Do they pursue him?
And the whole last dance thing the year before, and it's wild.
Well, if I was running the Green Bay Packers, which they've never asked me to do yet, I would do things completely different. I would have started in last offseason and not re-signed Aaron Jones because A.J. Dillon looks like a beast. Could have used that money to re-sign Corey Linsley and could have had some money left over to easily give Davante a contract, which is what he wants. He doesn't want to be franchise tagged.
Yeah.
So at this point, if we were willing to be patient, I would let both of them go if they want.
Wow.
And just start right back over. The defense is young and good. The offensive line is still solid. Got two good running backs signed right now. I think they could, go get Jimmy G and he could manage that team back to the playoffs until you, find a different quarterback in the draft, or if one of these younger ones don't get contracts either, like maybe Deshaun. I don't know.
I'm inclined to kind of agree with you. It's time if you just let those guys go, as a bit of a hurt as it is, it's the short-term pain versus the long-term gain, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you shared a graphic about the running backs, right?
Yeah.
And 100%, you don't pay them big past their first contract. Doesn't make any sense, right? You use that money allocated differently. So yeah, that's a good. I think that's a good enough talk about Super Bowl and football. Daniel, who's the next sponsor?
The next sponsor. Well, you guys didn't let me get my final comment in. That's fine.
We don't care.
Cowboys suck.
On that note, let's go to our final sponsor. Urban Hope, near and dear to my heart, is a mentorship program that I get to run and help change kids' lives right down in the downtown area of Toronto. And it's an inner city area where we get to have kids helping kids. We develop kids with biblical principles, discipleship skills, and mentorship skills. And they grow up through the program, then they have an opportunity to give back as well. And the exciting news is we're getting closer to the start of the launch of our basketball program, where the coach is actually going to start coaching once again. He's going to have some kids that he gets to coach that are actually talented, some that can even dunk. I don't think he's ever had kids that he's started with that can never do that. And that includes myself, and he's got some real talented kids to work with, and they have bright futures. And the way the coach coaches is not only for life on the court, but it's life off the court. And that's what a beautiful picture of our mentorship program is. So if you're interested in supporting, please go to www.thesportsreverends.com /sponsors. You can check out all our sponsors there. You can click right on them, and it'll bring you into an opportunity to give and support this great not-for-profit organization. All right, back to you, Coach.
Man, some very nice words there. Big shoes to fill. This is something that I think we've kind of touched upon last couple of weeks offhandedly, but let's perhaps have a brief discussion about this. The inconsistencies of being woke. I mean, we all understand that we want to have equal rights for people. We want to share the love of God with everybody. But you just can't seem to have a conversation these days about anything. And I'll give you a few examples here, and then you guys can jump in if you like. The Uyghurs up in China, they're getting persecuted just from where they are. Most of them are Muslims, some of them are Christians, but regardless, they are being persecuted. But however, what's going on? What just is finishing up right now? The Olympic Games, but love and peace and unity doesn't really match with what the wokeists are saying. Phil Mickelson is talking about making a breakaway golf tour, the Super Golf League or whatever, and he's partnering with this Saudi investment fund, and he talked about. He understands the human rights atrocities that have been done in Saudi Arabia, but he's trying to make it better for the millionaire golfers who just need more money and deserve a better league because the PGA is just hoarding too much cash. Doesn't really make sense when you put the two and two together. You got Juwan Howard, who got angry that somebody had touched him in the handshake line and punched a white coach. It took him 24 hours to A, issue an apology, B, get suspended, get fined for the rest of the year. If it was the reverse, the white coach would have been fired immediately on the spot, and he'd have his name dragged through mud. Ken Maurer, basketball referee, fired because he didn't have the vaccine, where last year they didn't need to. And I'm sure you guys have other examples of the inconsistencies of quote unquote being woke. How do you guys find this, especially because, in your ministries, how do you guys deal with this kind of stuff in a loving and biblical manner when you're talking to people who are, let's say, being reasonable? Dan, you want to go first?
Yeah, there's a number of issues that you're bringing up from all these examples. A lot of them are related to racial tension. And for me, one of the main things I like to steer people away from is, your identity being in the color of your skin. You know, the identity should be in who you've been created by, and that's in Christ. And that's what our focus should be. But it's gone so far away from that. It's gone so far away from that belief. It's pouring into our sports and into all areas of our life. When you see like you said, the Olympic Games, where there's you said there's persecution of the Uyghurs. It's actually closer to, at most it would be considered a genocide of this people group. And the Olympic Games are happening there, where there should be love of all the countries and unity and peace in the world and hope. And to me, I just point back to identity. Your identity shouldn't be in the color of your skin. When I was growing up, you know, I didn't care that Drew was a little white guy when I picked on him. I only picked on him because I actually liked him out of the other kids, and he was one of my friends, and he became my friend in college. It wasn't about the color of his skin. I don't know how he felt about me, but you know, I think he felt the same way. But it's about identity, right? Even Juwan Howard, when he punched the coach because he was frustrated, he couldn't handle his emotions. He punched the coach, and because the coach had called timeouts to get his bench players in, and Juwan Howard just couldn't control his temper. Even in the post-game interview, he's talking like, you know, this coach shouldn't have laid his hand on me in the handshake line. Like, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And there's just this level and this idea that, you know, it's almost like we should all have that elite status, that superstar status. You know how when we were growing up, every top Hollywood person or actress or whatever, they could do whatever they want and get away with it. Now, instead of, you know, the story of changing from the elite coming back to the normal where we should all follow the same rules, it's become where, you know, I should be able to do anything because of the color of my skin, or because of my culture, or because of this and that. And I just think we're placing identity in the wrong place, and it's heartbreaking. So that's where I steer the conversation.
Well, and I think the identity, I like what you're talking about, identity, but I think it all comes down to, yes, our identity in Christ, but also God's ideal format for what a family should look like. Yeah. We have 2/3 of Black kids are born into single parent homes, when God knew what he was doing when he created the nuclear family, like that every child needs a mom and a dad. And I think a lot of those identity issues come from kids not growing up with fathers in the home. And I was blessed, fortunate enough, some would say privileged enough, to grow up in a 2-parent home. And I think my life is better for it. I don't want to know where I would have been if I didn't have my father or mother in the home. So I think that's the side I see that's troubling on the other side, is that the other side doesn't even acknowledge it. In fact, they actually encourage against it. And I think that's where a lot of our identity issues and tensions come in there when we're trying to compare our upbringings and all that kind of stuff. We're sort of left without that.
No, I think that's a great point. And as you started talking about that, it immediately brought me back to the Fresh Prince episode, where Carlton is trying to pledge for this fraternity. And for those who don't know, Fresh Prince is this kid from the hood, goes and lives in Bel Air with all the rich family. And so there's a dichotomy there of rich and poor and things like that. But so Carlton is the, huh?
I said Philly.
Carlton is the rich son, and Will is the poor one. And they go to pledge this fraternity, and Carlton's basically told that he's not Black enough to be part of this fraternity because he's educated, he's ambitious, he comes from a 2-family home. And if your identity is going to be steeped in, drugs, alcohol, gangs, only looking out at money, and because that's all you know, what are you going to pass on to the next generation. The same thing over and over and over again, right? I mean, you look at successful families, and a lot of things that come in common are two parents. Now, I'm not saying that both parents have to get along. That's just part of life. But when both parents are invested in the kid, it increases their chances of going to school, of breaking through barriers, all sorts of things that just don't exist when you don't have both influences. I mean, Dan, you probably see this a lot out of the three of us, is the impact of living in a downtown society where you do see some families, staying the nuclear family and growing and trying to work through those challenges, and some you don't. And how that kind of impacts the kids. It's a tough thing. There's no easy answer, but the woke side of things wants everybody to be tolerant of them. They want everybody to be fitting to whatever social construct you feel like, but they're not tolerant of other ideas coming back. I could be in a body of a man, I could feel like a dog, and I want to marry a tree, and that's okay.
I'm telling Mom.
Well, this is what Toronto's done to me. I could be all these things, but if somebody were to come down and say, no, you are a biological male, you're not a dog, you can't make love to a tree because it's illegal, I can say, no, that's racist, or that's sexist, or that you're infringing on my rights. Right? It doesn't make sense. Right? I'm allowed to believe what I believe. You're allowed to believe what you believe. And you should be able to have a proper discourse, a proper dialogue, not a shouting match. Right? And I think it's great. A really good way to segue is, you don't want it when your identity should be in Christ. Where are you finding your identity? And a lot of people have identity crises because they don't know what to do with themselves. Right? And we hear a lot about rising depression and all that kind of stuff that are mental health. And it's a real thing. I'm not saying it's not, but a lot of that comes because people don't know where to find their hope. They don't know how to deal with their problems. They don't see freedom because they don't know Christ. And as soon as you start talking about religion, people shut their ears, right? So we have to live out our faith. Anything else, you guys? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think there is we see this more in Canada. I don't think there's a government mandate or government law that can change the outcome of a cultural group that's struggling. We look at our Indigenous brothers and sisters, and we see that there's been so much funds allocated, so much things given to set them up to have a chance to escape some of the tough life they've grown up through. And I've gotten to personally work with so many Indigenous students in Thunder Bay and here in Toronto, and they all have this heartbreaking stories of their family homes, and I got to see reserves that I visited that are 99% where all the girls and women have been sexually abused, and it's heartbreaking. But what we want to see is change is by having boots on the ground, people going and sharing the hope that people are looking for in all the wrong places, and that's hope is in Jesus, and that's what it is, and that's all we can do. And I don't think there's going to be a government rule or more allocation of funds that's going to change a lot of that.
Drew, last word to you, man.
Oh, that's good. It's been tough to lead through it because you're like, the church isn't immune to all this stuff. It's coming in, and we have to be prepared to be able to toe that line of acceptance and allowing people to work on their own stuff as well. Like, it's been tough to balance that as a pastor. and having my own personal convictions myself. So I think both sides of the coin need to give their head a shake, because I see these people coming into arguments and they both leave upset and further into their side of things. And I think that I forget who said it, about having a healthy discourse about coming into a meeting, open minds, and laying it all out, sharing how we feel, and hopefully moving forward with objective truth. Because, yeah, I think we need to get back to the point where we know there is right and wrong, and there is truth and lies, and that's where we need to go.
Awesome. Great last word. I'll wrap it up for today, boys. Great discussion. Really enjoyed that. If you're looking for any sort of church help, any sort of God help, please reach out on our Insta or Twitter or whatever. One of these guys will reach out back to you, and they'd love to share their life story with you, and in the way that God's impacted their lives. Boots on the ground, big time. Money can't solve everything. Look in your community. Look in your community. For those of you Christians out there, ask God what you can do for him, and he'll point you in the right direction. And some people will go across seas. Some people will go across the street. All is good in God's eyes. So that's it for us today, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you like, subscribe, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook.